Well, welcome back once again to Straight Up Bible Teaching. And once again today we are dealing with some more coping mechanisms. We want to talk now about a coping mechanism where we will deny that sin has happened. We deny it. Sometimes you will find that parents will do this to protect one of their children. And they do it in such a way that it's like, my child is too good to have done that. You know, they get called to the school and are told that their child did something bad at school. And the parent will deny that that is even possible for their child to do that. No, he's too good, she's too good. They would never do that. That is a denial of sin. A person who is guilty and has been caught might even deny that they did it because they don't want to face the guilt, they don't want to face the punishment that comes from getting caught and convicted of what they've done. And so they will just flat out deny it. You know, "No, I didn't do that. It wasn't me. Couldn't have been me." And yet it was them. But they will try to deny it. And this coping mechanism often pops up in codependent relationships. A codependent relationship, and I think we've maybe talked about this in the past, is one in which one party is overly dependent upon the other party. So the guilty person can continue to get away with their sin because the other person is too dependent upon them and they know it. And so that person will never rat them out, so to speak. They'll never turn them in. They'll never say anything bad. They'll never let people know what's really going on. And instead they'll come up with other stories for what people see because they are in denial that sin is really happening. Again, this is a coping mechanism. And yes, it can be tough maybe for the people who find themselves caught in this situation where they're really dependent upon somebody who's doing what's wrong. But nevertheless, the best thing is to tell the truth. The best thing is to expose it, because then maybe we can get it stopped. And so we never want to deny that sin is happening. We want to face it, because God doesn't deny it, neither should we. The next one is ignoring sin. And to ignore it simply means that I have this attitude that if I just leave it alone, everything will just go away. Everything will be okay down the road somewhere, or I'll just ignore it. We'll never bring it up. We'll never talk about it. It's just swept under the rug, and nobody deals with it. That's called ignoring sin. So we can see it happening, but we're not going to do anything about it. Do not do this with your children. If you see your children sinning, you see your children being disobedient, please take action. Do not ignore their sin. Do not ignore what they're doing wrong. Because all you're doing by ignoring that is helping them perpetuate their sin. And eventually, as they get older, they will come up against authority figures who are not going to ignore their sin, and they will pay a very high price for their sin. So this is why you want to stop it early. Teach them to pursue righteousness. Teach them to start doing things right. not what's wrong, so that they can have real life and not be trapped in this web of sin. So don't ever ignore sin. Don't ignore it in yourself. If you have sinned, do yourself a big favor. Get right with God. Get right and do it quickly, because you do not want to ignore the sin. That sin in your life is going to cause other repercussions. Other things are going to happen. And there's prices to pay. There's consequences that come with it. So you want to jump on it as quickly as possible and deal with that sin, so that you are not being impacted from it. Okay? So don't ever ignore sin. Now we come to a really, really big category, because there is a lot of stuff that falls into this category. And this one is the hide from it and run away category. There are so many ways that people try to hide from sin, run away from sin. Books, volumes of books could be written on all the different ways that people do this. Let's talk about a few of them. We ran across a situation here recently where someone as a child had been traumatized by sin in their house. And their way of dealing with it, their way of coping with it, was to go out and take care of their animals. They had a number of animals, and they would go out there and they would care for the animals. They'd take care of the animals and spend time with them and love on those animals. And that was their way of getting away from what was going on in their house. Now there's a problem with this, because what happens is that the person who does that will often bond very strongly with the animals, but they can't bond to people. And the reason this is so bad is because when they grow up, they become adults, maybe they get married and they have a family, they are unable to truly bond fully with their family, with their husband, their wife, their children. They cannot bond with the people. But boy, they can sure bond with animals. And they can do it in a heartbeat. They love animals. They love being with them, to the extent they would almost rather be with the animals than with the people. Well, what's happened when you see somebody like that, what you can know is that somewhere back in their past, there was some type of trauma that separated them from the people who were close to them, so that they could not properly bond emotionally with them. And instead, they transferred that bonding to these animals, because the animals, their affection for you or their acceptance of you is completely unconditional. They don't know whether you're good or bad, except in how you treat them. And if you treat them good, they don't mind. They don't care what else you do anywhere else. They don't care what kind of sin you may be into or not. You see, because animals unconditionally will accept you. If you feed them and care for them, they don't care. But people are different. And so that's just one way that people can hide and run away from sin. Sometimes people will literally run away. Okay? They may run off with another person, leave their marriage, leave their family, run off. because that's how they deal with sin. Other people, they get involved with drugs because drugs dull your senses and you don't feel the pain. Remember, whenever sin happens, it causes damage, and we experience that damage as pain, right? Well, to deal with the intensity of the pain, people will sometimes turn to drugs or alcohol, and they will dull their senses so that they don't feel the pain from that sin. And because they no longer feel the pain, they seem to be able to function okay. Okay? But what they're doing is they're escaping. They're running away. They're hiding from what's really taking place. Other people might become a workaholic. So they're always working. They're always doing something. They're always busy. They can never sit down. They can never be still. They might get fidgety, and they always have to be doing something with their hands, or their legs are constantly, moving or shaking, and so forth. And we've come to slap labels on those type of things, like restless leg syndrome. You know what I know now? Restless leg syndrome is simply a symptom of sin damage. Okay, that's what it is. What's happened inside of them, what's happened to them, has caused such turmoil and such anxiety within them that one of the easiest ways for them to let that all out is through this restless leg thing, where their leg, they can't keep their legs still when they're sitting down. And it can drive other people crazy, but it's what they do. Okay, other people might become a couch potato. Instead of being a workaholic and away working all the time, now they're just sitting on the couch and watch TV all day, or play video games all day, or they're on the computer all the time and they're playing on the computer. There are so many things that people can get involved in, but what they're doing is they're running away and hiding. They can become an adrenaline junkie, and they go skydiving and doing all kinds of crazy things because they are running away from something. Okay? Understand. Big category. Big category, this one. When you are running away, when you're trying to hide from sin, there are so many things that you can get involved in these days. Hobbies of all kinds are out there. And it doesn't mean that the hobby is bad, but people get obsessed with things because it keeps them from having to deal with something else. Even exercising. There are people who become exercise junkies, and they'll spend 8 hours at the gym. They don't need to spend 8 hours at the gym, but they do it because they're hiding from something. There's something bad somewhere that they want to get away from, and that's their escape. So they will escape into this other place. Sometimes it's just purely within their mind. They will escape into this world that they create in their mind. So this category here in particular, you need to spend some time really thinking about this one. Think about all the ways that people can hide or run away from sin that is happening. And you'll discover there are a multitude of ways that people do it. And they are all around you all the time. And so we need to have a heart of compassion for them. And if you see yourself susceptible to one of these things, if you recognize, hey, I think I may be hiding from sin, I may be running from something, you need to stop. You need to back up and say, who sinned? What did they do? And then you can deal with the sin properly. All right? Well, we got a few more still to go. We're not done yet, but we will get to them shortly. So until next time, I'm Pastor Ken. Have a great day. God bless.